Greetings, friends. You're on the Ruslan Bailov channel, and today, June 24th, 2026, we'll break down the situation around the world. It's been an extremely eventful day. There's a great deal of important news to get through, so let's dive in without further ado. And right away, a reminder, YouTube still holds back videos like this one in its recommendations and is reluctant to show them even to people who are already subscribed. So if an objective, regular Frontline briefing matters to you, please subscribe, hit the notification bell, and leave a like. That's the only way not to lose track of the channel and to help it push through the algorithm. Now, to business. We'll start with the situation along the front and move from south to north. On the Orikhiv and Zaporizhzhia directions, no significant changes to the line of contact have been recorded over the past day. The situation here remains without meaningful movement. Moving north, west of Chasiv Yar, the situation is gradually shifting. The settlements of Podilska and Chervon, previously under the control of the AFU, Armed Forces of Ukraine, have reportedly moved into the so-called grey zone. This reflects pressure from Russian units toward the settlement of Stinky. According to pro-Russian sources, this sector may soon find itself in a partial encirclement, after which AFU positions west of Chasiv Yar would gradually be pushed out. This information still requires confirmation by objective control footage. Now to Kostiantynivka. The Russian Defense Ministry today issued additional reports on this direction, stating that the Russian army continues to advance within the city. At the same time, no map corrections for Kostiantynivka were recorded over the past day. There are no changes confirmed by objective control. Meanwhile, a growing number of sources say that a final, conclusive report on the city is already being prepared. Now, Lyman. The clearing of the urban area continues here. According to the Russian Defense Ministry, the Russian army keeps advancing within the city. Pro-Russian sources have published a video showing troops raising a flag in the southern part of Lyman. But on the basis of that footage alone, we are not making any map corrections. According to those same sources, around 50 apartment blocks came under the control of the Russian army over the past day. And north of the Novotorska and Elektrovozna railway stations, a pocket has formed, which is now being cleared. Once it is eliminated, it is claimed, the only area remaining outside control would be the vicinity of the Zeleny Klin railway station, where Ukrainian units have dug in. This data has not yet been confirmed by independent sources, so we treat it as a claim rather than a settled fact. Overall, more and more resources report that a final report on Lyman is already in the works. One of the key sectors is the Sloviansk-Kramatorsk direction. Over the past day, an advance by Russian units has been recorded east of Sloviansk, near the settlements of Kaliniki and Ry-Oleksandrivka. The Russian army managed to push west of Kaliniki and reach the large forested areas on the way toward Mykolaiivka. Ry-Oleksandrivka itself, according to mapping resources, has come under the full control of the Russian army. To its north, around 2 square kilometers came under control, and to its south, a little over 1 square kilometer. Rear areas are being cleared and the line of contact straightened out. In addition, Russian units are advancing toward Orikhovatka. That's already the Kramatorsk direction and the next notable defensive node, and from there it's only a short distance to Sloviansk and Kramatorsk. The Russian side is increasingly using aviation to strike forward AFU positions right at the Sloviansk-Kramatorsk agglomeration. Strikes are landing on the eastern outskirts, and the defense of Ukrainian units in this sector is gradually buckling. At the same time, there are reports of AFU counterattacks in the area of the settlements of Prishib and Tatyanivka. As a reminder, back in April-May, there were reports of Russian units crossing the Siversky Donets River, with corresponding footage published. Today, however, a number of pro-Russian experts acknowledged that the Russian side had to withdraw from the area of Tatyanivka and Prishib to a line near Yarova and Drobyshev. Further north, the Kupiansk direction. An advance has been recorded west of Dvoryshanske. Russian units have finally managed to push across the Popivka River by available data, roughly 3 kilometers, and reach the approaches to the settlement of Kolodiazne. Taking it is important for a further advance toward Veliki Burluk, a major transport hub, and a powerful fortified area that Russian forces are now pushing toward. The distance to it, however, is still considerable, the Kharkiv direction. In the area of Staritsia, several advances have been noted. Russian units managed to enter the forested area between Staritsia and Hravsky and take a stretch of territory of around 5 square kilometers. The Siversky Donets River also runs through here, which makes this advance especially significant. In addition, there are reports of an advance south of Losivka, which came under the control of the Russian Federation. Russian units by this data have entered Sosnovy Bir. And finally, the main event of the day, the Sumy direction, where several significant advances are concentrated. In effect, we're talking about a breakthrough of the line of contact north of the city of Sumy. According to the Russian Defense Ministry and the North Seva grouping, the Russian army has managed to establish full control over the settlement of Ivoljanska. Long and fierce fighting went on for this village. The AFU had a powerful fortified area here, with underground structures, dugouts, and trench networks. The significance of this success is that south of Ivoljanska, a large forested belt begins, running directly towards Sumy. Gaining a foothold in that belt opens up a convenient route for massing forces and for a further advance toward the city, which is exactly why this woodland has been fought over so hard. In effect, the second defensive line of Sumy has now been cut into 2 parts. But that's far from all. Russian units have entered Novosich and secured a foothold in its northern part, and have also cleared the pocket between Korchakivka and Novosich. In total, around 12 square kilometers came under control in this sector. By available estimates, the full transfer of Novosich under the control of the Russian army is a matter of the near future. Another success is noted in the area of Ulanov. From the direction of Komarivka, Russian units expanded the control zone on the southern approaches to the village and reached its southern outskirts. South of Bobilivka, the control zone has also been expanded. The security buffer zone in the Sumy region has been widened by roughly another kilometer. An advance has also been recorded north of Pisarivka, where, by available data, a number of Ukrainian fortifications have been taken. Fighting for Pisarivka itself has been going on for several months now. By the end of June 23rd, the Russian army also improved its positions in the area of Kondrativka. Building on that success, Russian units are advancing toward Kondrativka, Kotivka, Kianitsia, and Krapivshchina. The next important node on this direction is Kotin. If they manage to enter this settlement and dig in, then there aren't many heavily fortified points left on the way to Sumy. On the Myropilia bridgehead, south of Zapsilia, Russian units advanced and reached the outskirts of Velika Rybitsia, a fairly serious defensive node. South of Myropilia itself, the advance amounted to about a kilometer, with a number of Ukrainian fortifications taken. Worth highlighting separately is the Krasnopilia sector, the settlement of Ryazne. North of it, Russian units advanced and partially closed the pocket between Taratutyne and Ryazne. A security buffer zone is being formed here, this time for the Kursk region. Taken together, all of this indicates that the offensive on Sumy is taking on a critical character. If the second defensive line is ultimately lost, the Russian army comes essentially right up to the city. The distance would shrink to roughly 7 kilometers. From that line, strikes on Sumy could be delivered not only with drones but also with tube artillery. The Russian side is shortening the distance daily and drawing ever closer to the city. Let's move on to more strategic threads. Today, the so-called Doomsday Radio, the buzzer, once again drew attention. 11 separate messages went out over the air with a characteristic set of code words. Among them were terms like Amilovkos, Rastiranie, Genolis, Gidroprak, Prydirchivi, and Fritsatiyunya. On their own, these words carry no meaning for an outside observer, but such activity often precedes major events. And it's not out of the question that this is an indirect sign of the Russian Federation preparing a new massive strike against Ukraine. If we go by simple math, we could be looking at the use of thousands of drones and, possibly, hundreds of missiles. As a reminder, the previous massive strike was carried out exactly 10 days ago, on the night of June 15th, primarily against Kyiv. According to the Ukrainian side, a total of 681 aerial targets were involved at the time, hundreds of drones and dozens of missiles. After that, the Russian Federation struck daily but deployed only about 100 drones a day, noticeably fewer than its production capacity. If we add up the difference over the period from June 15th to June 24th, we get an accumulated reserve on the order of 1 to 2,000 drones, which could be used in the next massive strike. At the same time, pro-Ukrainian monitoring resources point out that a significant part of Russia's strategic aviation, capable of taking part in such a strike, is currently in the east of the country, at the Ukrainka Air Base. By their assessment, the aircraft are already ready to carry out their missions, and the signal for a strike would be the redeployment of aviation from east to west, toward Engels. I'll emphasize, all of this consists of assessments from Ukrainian sources, not independently confirmed. Layered on top of this is yet another thread. In the coming days, the deadline expires on the one-week ultimatum that Ukrainian President Zelensky earlier issued to the Republic of Belarus. He set that deadline in mid-June, demanding that Minsk dismantle the equipment or Ukraine would act on its own, and that one-week window now runs out within the next few days. This topic was actively amplified by Ukrainian state media. According to pro-Ukrainian data, relay equipment is positioned along the Belarusian border, through which strikes deep into Ukraine are allegedly coordinated, primarily against Kyiv and the northwestern districts. Against the backdrop of several factors coinciding, a likely window for a massive strike and the expiry of the ultimatum, provocations along the Ukraine-Belarus border cannot be entirely ruled out either. A hypothetical multi-step scenario suggests itself here. First, with such an accumulated potential, the Russian Federation delivers a major strike on Ukrainian infrastructure. Then the Ukrainian side may respond with a provocation, including along the border with Belarus. And as a third step, retaliatory action by Russia is not out of the question. I'll stress, all of this is for now only theories and coincidences in timing, rather than confirmed facts. The actual outcome will likely become clear within the next 2 or 3 days. Now, to the mutual strikes over the past day. The Russian Federation continues to inflict daily damage on Ukraine's energy sector, fuel industry and fuel infrastructure. From the Chernihiv region, from the area of Koryukivka, footage has come in of a Geran loitering munition strike on yet another fuel station near the border. The station was apparently seriously damaged. A strike on Konotop is also being recorded. By available data, a building practically in the central part of the city was hit, which, according to sources, was being used by the AFU as a temporary deployment point or for moving units between sectors. In Sumy, a strike landed on the southeastern industrial part of the city, again on a fuel station. That's already the second filling station in a day, according to open sources. Closer to the center of the country, in the area of Arsenivka, a large fire anomaly was recorded at a facility connected to the gas extraction or gas processing industry. In Lozova, pro-Russian sources are publishing a series of strikes on logistics, trains, railway rolling stock, and locomotives. As a reminder, Lozova remains a crucial logistics hub between Kharkiv, Dnipropetrovsk, and the Zaporizhzhia region. Regarding Pavlohrad, a strike on a facility in the southwestern part of the city is reported. There's footage of the aftermath and of rescue services at work. Another filling station has been destroyed in the Dnipropetrovsk region, already the third in a day. And finally, in the Zaporizhzhia region, a fourth filling station in a day has been damaged. Judging by the footage, a single drone was used, with a burned-out vehicle visible nearby. Against this backdrop, pro-Ukrainian resources write about a fairly serious fuel and energy crisis across the territories of Crimea, the Zaporizhzhia and Kherson regions, as well as the Donetsk and Luhansk regions. Objectively, it's worth noting that strikes on fuel stations are regularly carried out on both sides of the line of contact. From the Ukrainian side, little information comes through, mostly just the facts of the strikes and their aftermath, when another station is destroyed. Yet for the territories east of a conditional dividing line, closer to the front and the border with Russia, where hundreds of fuel stations have likewise been destroyed, local sources and residents far more often report real problems with fuel, with difficulties refueling, and with the power supply. So similar difficulties are, in all likelihood, characteristic of areas controlled by the Ukrainian side as well. The difference is more in how these problems are covered than in whether they exist at all. In turn, on the night of June 24th, the Ukrainian side delivered a massive strike deep into the territory of the Russian Federation, by open data along at least 3 directions. Some of the drones headed toward Moscow, but that strike was repelled. A second wave, directed toward the central regions of Russia, was also beaten back. A third wave fell on the Crimean Peninsula, by available data on energy facilities, including electrical substations. Some sources report that, in the wake of the strikes, problems with the power supply were noted on the peninsula. As with everything above, these are preliminary figures, and the full picture of the night's damage will become clearer over the next day or so. That's all for today's briefing. If you found this video useful, support the channel with a like, a subscription, and the notification bell. It really does help us push through the algorithm. You can also support the channel financially. The link is below the video. Take care of yourselves, and may you all have peace and quiet. This has been Ruslan Belov.